Hi everyone, I'm Miranda from Miranda Made Designs and co-creator at Piglet's Closet. Today I'm going to show you how to make an easy decoupage candle with a little bit of WoodUbend. And I haven't finished this one, but I'm going to do this one to be able to show you how I completed this part. So today we're just using battery operated candles. I'm using Posh chalk rice paper. It's a decoupage paper. It's called the Posh script. And then I'm going to be using some WoodUbend florals and some of their moldings. So I'll show you how to use those. Very easy. We're also going to be using the Posh chalk pigment infuser and the pale gold pigment. So that's going to be how we go ahead and get this shimmery gold look. So this is how it started, and this is what it looked like. So I just tried to show you, I've got some of it done and some of it needing to be done, so I could kind of show you all of the parts. So let me go ahead, I'm going to tilt you down, hopefully so that you can see. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna grab my glue also. All right, so the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna really try to measure out what I need for paper. So what I do is I kind of measure off the top of the candle, because if you can see, the candles are not the same height all the way around. So what I'm gonna do is probably just start from the top here, because I don't want the bottom where it has the name of the paper. So since I've already used this, I'm just gonna go ahead and figure out about where it's gonna end. So that way I don't have too much extra paper. You can use scissors for this. I like to use, let me see if I have it. Oh, I forgot that. So I've got scissors, but I also have just like a cutting board and an X-Acto knife. So what I'm gonna do is kind of mark out from the top, moved a little bit on me, to the bottom. And I'll give it a little bit extra. So right about where those words are is where I'm gonna do the first cut. And you can use a pen. So I'm going to line it up. This way I can just make sure that I'm getting a straight cut. So that looks about right. I'm not very straight with scissors generally, so I prefer to do this. And I am giving it a little bit extra just so to be on the safe side. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. And then I always save my scraps because you can use them for all sorts of different projects. So this is going to be and I'm going to want to cut off some of that white part. So let's go ahead and do that first. So I just prefer to have more of the words showing. I don't know if you can see the edge of that, but it's got kind of a margin. So again, I'm just going to cut it close. And the reason why I have decided to do kind of the molding on the back is to really just hide that seam and give it a little bit more of a finished kind of elegance. And you can do this with any kind of rice paper, decoupage paper that you like. It doesn't have to be something simple. It could be floral, it could be one color. I just chose this because I thought it was kind of a nice classic look with the gold and the white lettering. The tricky part with the paper that I chose is that there's words on it, so there's the horizontal lines that we're gonna have to watch. So I'm gonna cut it close with that E, just kind of eyeballing it. And then we'll cut that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, and these are actually wax candles, but you can decoupage over them and it seals just fine. So what I'm gonna use today is, actually I don't think I have it here. Let me, where did I put it? I just had it. I'm gonna use the Redesign with Prima's decoupage gel. Here it is. And I'm just gonna kind of start, I start in the back, kind of right, I pick right where the middle is because that's where we're gonna put the seam. So on the highest part of the candle is where I'm gonna start in the back. And I just kind of work a little bit at a time. So the tricky part with this one, with the lettering, is just gonna be to get it lined up as best as I can. And I'll show you how to cut the top to make it look just kind of natural. So again, this is the Redesign Decoupage Gel. I'm using matte. You can use glossy. So I'm just gonna try to line up. And because I have a little bit of extra here, I'm gonna choose to line up the words on the bottom. I think will help me. So I'm just looking at where those words are versus the bottom of the candle to just get me off to a good start. And I found with the other one, it's okay if it doesn't go on perfectly, because actually with the rice papers, you can end up having some wrinkles in it and just kind of seal them in there, and it works fine. So this, and these candles might also not be perfectly round, so I want to kind of see. So I'm just going to have to work in small bits and then just kind of iron over some of those wrinkles to keep it as horizontal as possible and straight. So just work a little bit at a time. You don't need too much. And then I'm going to come over and do the top of it after we get this all done. And you have a little bit of working time. You don't want to take it up and down a lot, but you do have the ability to do it a little bit. So here I'm seeing I'm getting some wrinkles. The other trick I like to use is I save some of my plastic and I just use that to help smooth things out, because it's creates less friction than like your finger or the brush and is easier on the paper. So there we started that, and I don't know, there are some wrinkles that I just really smooth out and you can't see them, especially since it's got kind of the veins in there already from the rice paper. Let's go ahead and keep working our way around. Make sure we're coating it all. If you get too much, got too much on the bottom there, I'm just gonna wipe it off. Okay. So this is actually doing pretty well. Going flat, I think around, might need to come up a smidge. There we go. Okay. So just gonna take this, smooth that onto there. And just keep working around. Making sure I didn't cut too much off of it. That was pretty close. It's always better to have a little bit of extra material than it is to cut too much. doing. Just kind of carefully rubbing it, getting it towards the top. I do want to make sure that I seal that. So I'm going to get some down in to the top there. And then we are going to come back and I'll show you how to trim it off and make it look good. And yes, these candles are not round. I can tell right now. This one was a little bit more round, but so sometimes choosing script might be a little bit more challenging. So for your first project, you could give it a go, or you could choose something a little more forgiving. But you do have some, especially with the rice paper, like I said, some forgiveness with the veins, and I do really love this script. All right. So we've made it all the way around, and I actually don't have too much overlap, and my words are doing really quite well lining up. Hopefully you can see that. So the molding will fit over there very nicely. Okay, just going to make sure I get this flap sealed down. Oops, don't need to fold that over. There we go. Okay. So I will come back, and normally I would just go ahead and put the sealer coat on it now. But what I'm gonna do, because I wanna show you how to cut the top, is I'm just gonna wait. Let me get a paper towel. And I'll do that afterwards. And then we'll move to the other one to finish the project. So that stuff does get very sticky. So I have a little cup of water and I have a brush. So what I'm going to do is, if you get this paper wet, and you do have to get it pretty wet, you can end up kind of ripping it right along the edge, which gives you kind of that nice, not perfect edge that I'm going for. So if you can see that, it's just ripping. And then I'm going to go ahead and seal that along. So you just go ahead and put the water on, give it some time to soak in, and then you can just carefully pull it. And then it will, so hopefully you can see that. So it just gives, for this particular piece that I'm doing, kind of that nice jagged, not perfect edge that I rolled over and just sealed on top of the candle, because I don't want to go inside of the candle. Oops, I need to put that away because that's gonna happen. All right, so keep going around a little bit more, and then I'll move on to the next part so you don't have to watch me do this whole thing. And then we just want to be careful, that part is twice as thick, so I need a little bit more water. Okay. I'm going to come back and do that when that's dry. So the best thing to do is to wait until it's dry, so that you're not also fighting the wetness of the paper from the decoupage medium. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for now. So what I want to do is, so I will go ahead and do that all the way around the end, the top edge, just like I did on this piece. And then I want to show you how I mixed the pigments and how I heated the WoodUbend, and we're going to finish this one. And then we'll be done. You'll have a new idea for a project. Okay, so the great thing about the WoodUbend, especially the moldings, you want to keep them rolled up for storage purposes as long as you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat. You can see how this is not very bendy, flexible right now. So I'm going to heat just the little part of it to get it flat for what I need, and I'm going to use a heat gun. I have seen people, you do not want to put it in the microwave. I have seen people use like a griddle. I would not recommend using a griddle that you use for cooking on, but you can use a griddle and lay them on there and they get really warm and bendy, and it's wonderful. You can bend them around just about anything. So I'm just gonna heat what I need. So I want to keep the rest of it curled up. So I'm just going to start with the end. And you can see it kind of starting to sag a little bit, curl. So if you can see that. So I'm gonna, we don't need very much. So I'm just gonna take for this piece right about what I need. So I need a little bit more up here. Perfect, okay. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to, and you can always trim it later. So I'm gonna mark it right about there. And then once it's heated, all you have to do is use like an X-Acto knife and you can just cut it. Oops, and then of course I did that. So I'm not being very careful. So let's do that again. So I'm gonna use a little bit more. Although, you know what? Let me show you how we can fix this actually, because this is pretty close. So if it breaks, it's okay. You can put it back together. So what I'm going to do, you just kind of heat it when you're ready to put it on, and then you just glue it back together and you won't even know. So we are gonna do that. We're gonna use it. It's gonna be, so you wanna get it very warm when you are using the WoodUbend. So that was my fault because I was being quick and I didn't get it warm enough to cut through, and I wasn't being careful. So let me show you. I'll lay this flat for painting. Okay. So let's get this good and heated. And I'm gonna make sure. So this is the side. Which side goes together here? That side. So this is the side I'm going to show you how to cut. All right. So now, now that it is warm, we can just go ahead and, I don't have the best knife for this either. A box cutter would be the better, but my box cutter is over at my house. I'm in my studio. So just cut it. This is kind of a curved X-Acto knife, which is why it's not working as well. And you can just cut it clean. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna preserve this piece. And once you put it back together, you're not even gonna see, notice that it was broken. So that's also a nice thing about the WoodUbend is you can heat it and meld it back together if you do break a piece. So let's quickly mix some Posh chalk. So I'm using the Posh chalk infuser, the pigment infuser, and we just need a tiny bit. We don't need very much at all for this. So let me grab a brush. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a little bit in there, and then the pigment. I don't know if you can see that, but it just really colors it. The pigment is so kind of dense and fine, just really colors. Gives you a nice solid color, and the infuser will dry clear. So we're just mix it all in. We're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna paint this one that hasn't been painted yet, and I'm just gonna use a dabbing technique because there's so many fine details on it. I wanna get into all of the grooves. I always end up getting paint on my hands. Get all the edges, and it's really just going to give it that kind of subtle gold glow. So what I may do is come back and let this dry, come back and put a second coat on it. I'm gonna do the same thing with this molding. And then I'm gonna heat the other one and put it on the bigger candle to show you how I heat it and put it on. All right, and that was as easy as that. So I have a little bit left over. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit. I might put a heat gun on it after we're done. And, but for the sake of time, I want to go ahead. I'm gonna put this up here on this candle. So as you can see, it's flat, so I need to get it rounded. So I'm gonna go ahead and heat it again. And what I'm gonna use, what I like to use to put it on is the quick, Titebond Quick and Thick. It's like it's named Quick and Thick, and it works really well. So let's go ahead and heat this up. And I wanna heat it pretty well, because it's gonna need to bend quite a bit. And you can kind of see it starting to. Just to heat it on. Just want to be careful not to burn yourself when you're using a heat gun. And you can see it starting to get very bendy. You can see that, which is what makes this product so fun to work with. All right, that is good. Sorry for all the noise. I'm gonna take my Titebond Quick and Thick, put a little coverage on it. And you do, once you get it warm, you do have quite a bit of working time with it. You want to be quick, but you don't need to be super quick, because it does retain heat, and the bigger the molds are, it will retain heat for longer. So I'm just making sure I've got coverage on the edges. I want a little bit more. And then all you need to do is let's see if I can do this backwards for you. So I'm going to try to center it, and then we're just gonna round it around. I need to look at it from the front. I think that's pretty. There we go. And then I'm just going to kind of press it and hold it for a little bit, not too long. And I probably will lay it on its back, but the best thing about the Quick and Thick is it really does kind of start to hold quickly. And so here is our easy, fun candle. We've got the back, the WoodUbend molding on the back to hide the seam. And now we have a little decorative molding on the front. And if you get extra glue on the outside, like if it sticks through, all you need to do is take a little brush, and you can just wipe it off. It does dry clear, so it doesn't matter too much, but if you don't like the look of it, then you can gonna push all these down. You can go ahead and wipe it back. Get this piece right here. There we go. All right, that is my candle upcycling tutorial. Sometimes you can find these at Goodwill, Value Village, really cheap on Amazon or at a craft store, and it's just a fun little accent to have. You can have Christmas, holiday ones, springtime ones, but super fun, easy to do, and you can use with a variety, create with a variety of materials. So I hope that this video was helpful and interesting. Thanks for joining me. And again, I'm Miranda from Miranda Made Designs, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you.